So the third pick is Scoot Henderson. Now, this kid is special. He's been one of the biggest prospects. He's been the guy who has been compared to Wembanyama the most when it comes to like who is really the best prospect in this draft. But he's gonna make waves in the NBA in a good or bad way. And what I want to see from him is what is he doing with his talents. If you guys don't know, he was drafted third overall to the Portland Trailblazers. But if we're being honest, no team in the top three should have drafted him. It's not because of his talent. He was the second best player in the draft. And in my opinion, that's by far, right? He averaged 17.6 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 6.6 assists in the G League in 2023. And when you really look at him, right, what he's doing and how he's carrying himself as a starter and as a guy who went to a team which is the G League Ignite, which is an extremely tough team as there's a lot of draft prospects who go there. And it's basically a program where the G League is like the minority league of the NBA. And they're basically like we're old NBA players and players who played in the NBA or are NBA talent but just don't have a place in the NBA can play. And this is a league for a lot of guys. They have their own championship, and there's like a lot of guys who play in the G League as they do pay, to make it professionally. But Scoot was playing against them. So he has experience against these grown men, NBA players, and he averaged good stats against them, especially when he was only like 18 or 17 years old, as he was the youngest player in history to ever join the G League program. So he's generation. But if we're really looking at it, like he, when it comes to talent, was the second pick. But like the Spurs already had a guard tandem, right, with Tyus Jones and Devin Vassell, right there. And even though they could have used one, they didn't need a scoring guard, right? Then, I mean, what they really were prepped themselves up for is to get Wembanyama, and that's what they did. Not Tyus Jones, but excuse me. And when you see the Blazers, right, and the Hornets, they both have star point guards in LaMelo and Damian Lillard. Also, that Portland has Anthony Simons, so it's not even like they can run Scoot and Dame without making an $100 million contract sit on the bench. Finally, the Hornets, they have their whole thing figured out. They have Terry Rozier, which is a scoring guard. They have LaMelo, which is their primary guard. And they have guards on the bench who are waiting to play. So Scoot wasn't really fit for any of the top three. And this is a rare occasion where he just really got picked because they went best available option. Like, realistically, if Portland needed a pick, then they should have picked Amen Thompson, right? Because Amen is a shooting guard, small forward, who could have helped with their wing depth as they ruined it, and honestly could have helped their team out, right? But really, if you didn't draft Scoot, then you were creating a problem for yourself. But now, what we can see from this draft is that, no, they should have drafted Ausar Thompson, I'm sorry. Like, the Blazers should have drafted Ausar. But Scoot really, he was just so good that they needed to draft him. He's insane, right? Like, and he's averaging great stats. And he's one of those guys where you see it, that he's willing to put in the work to get what he wants. With a guy like Wemby, you could see that he's chill. He works out a lot and he trains a lot. but most of the real analytics are done by his trainers since Wembanyama could just run and dunk and he would be phenomenal, right? And it's not no slide to his game, but if you really look at the percentages, Wembanyama is not a good shooter, right? Neither is Scoot. These guys are not good, even though they make some good shots and some tough shots. They're not good shooters. And for a guy like Brandon Miller, he's a phenomenal shooter, but he can't create a two-pointer unless it's a dunk or a putback. So it's like, really, what are we doing here, right? So it's like, these guys obviously all have flaws. But if we're really talking about the most complete game out of any of these guys, it is Scoot. He's a phenomenal slasher. He can actually pass the ball. He can get his own shot and dribble really well, and he can rebound enough to make it effective or at least have a change, you know? He was averaging one offensive rebound a game, which for a point guard is pretty good because that means that he was creating one possession more every single game for his team. And normally you don't see that from a guy unless they're like Russell Westbrook, right? Luka, Ben Simmons, or these extremely tall or athletic point guards who love to rebound. You know, like a guy, even old legends, or Oscar Robertson. And Scoot plays defense too, you know? He was averaging a steal and half a block a game. The only thing that I would say about Scoot is that he's kind of, you know, young. He does have some of the young tendencies, which are a good amount of turnovers, a good amount of, you know, decisions which are like, okay, maybe you could have done something differently. And he definitely, because of the situation that he's in, where he's in the G League, where he's trying to compete and he's going against other NBA players, you could see that his level of intelligence is just not quite into the NBA level yet. But that's going to get figured out. In my opinion, I love this kid. I love his work ethic. I love the way that he is. And I love how much he wants it. And if you saw earlier in the year with the exhibition match with Wembanyama, he was insane. But the big problem with Scoot Henderson is, what is his team going to do with him? He's in the NBA. He has a team which is the Portland Trail Blazers. But this team already has two max contract guards, which are Damian Lillard, which is going to get paid like $60 million in 2 seasons, and Anthony Simons, who's going to get paid like $20 million, $30 million a year for the next like 4 years. So it's like, when you really break down this team, which is Portland, and you look at them, why would they pick a guard? I understand that you couldn't let Scoot Henderson go. He's the best prospect after Wembanyama, in my opinion. But let's face it, is he really going to get that many minutes in his first year? And is he going to get to flourish as a player, or is he going to be confined to having to live with the minutes that are left over from Dame and Anthony in Portland? So, in my opinion, that just really is something to think about, to analyze, and to see. Because as fans, we want to see this kid play immediately. We want to see him get 35 minutes a night. We want to see him go full throttle and show everything that he has, like the other rookies are going to do. Like Victor Wembanyama already basically has a starting spot. Ahmed and Asar Thompson basically already have a starting spot, right? You're going to see Brandon Miller, which is going to start immediately. And you're seeing all these guys, which are going to start immediately on their teams, even if they have to just make it make sense. But with Scoot, it's like, what are they going to do? They cannot put him at small forward. He's 6'2". And unless they want to really tank, they'll keep him and they'll lose as many games as they did last year. I believe that Scoot is a phenomenal prospect. He's a generational prospect. But when it comes to a situation like this, you just have to hope that the kid gets enough minutes to flourish. You could tell that he's not going to run the team. But maybe it's good for his future to be mentored by a guy like Dame. So we don't know how this is going to work. And I hope, honestly, Scoot can figure it out, because he needs to get his team to shine by himself, in my opinion, and they should trade Damian Lillard in Portland.